Why are you here? Are we gonna live life in fear, or are we gonna stand up and make sure we're heard? Are we gonna hide or live life by our word? With integrity we can be all that we can see in our mind's eye until we're finally free. We can become whatever we choose once we know the choice lies within me and you. Now's the time to wake up. No time for playing small. With a painful history and an uncertain future, now is the time to evolve.
Hello and good day to all of you authentic, beautiful human beings out there. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Unapologetically Human podcast with Dan Boyven. That's me. And I have a very special treat and honor to have the following guest on the podcast today. This is Justine Kovacs, an amazing, beautiful, inspiring, creative, powerful woman, and I am so grateful to be able to call her my girlfriend, my life partner. She is one of the loveliest people I have ever met, and she's a constant inspiration to me in my life. And I'm so happy to have her on the show. And to just give a little bit of a lead up, we kind of jump right into the conversation a little bit because she actually was feeling some quite intense resistance to coming on to the show today for the first time. And it's that time of the month for her right now. She's on her period, which she calls her bleed, which we have a laugh about in the episode. And she just really was feeling like she wasn't into having the call today. And before we jumped on and actually did have the call and started recording, we talked about it quite a bit, and she decided that we'd give it a go. And so we sort of jumped right into it a little bit, and she just expressed she also had this idea of kind of like how she wanted to feel doing this and the kinds of things that she wanted to share and tell her story and how it would look and everything like that. And, sometimes, most of the time, things don't show up in reality the way that we plan for or wish or hope for or imagine them to be and play them out in our heads. And that's fine. That's all good. That's life. And we get to show up how we show up, and we get to deal with things as life throws them at us. And so Justine she's basically like a magic pixie fairy in a lot of ways, but she is a deeply curious human being. She's a world traveler. She went to school for studying world issues. She has been to many, many countries, including living in South Korea for a year, teaching English. She is wise. She's incredibly intelligent and articulate, and I love, love, love having conversations with her. And some of the things that she wanted to share with you today that maybe she didn't, she can totally share with you on a future episode. But today we're going to just start off by going into where she was at with how she was feeling and talk about this resistance that we come up against in our lives and how when it shows up, we can choose to believe it or honor it and not do the thing that we were planning on doing or wanting to do, and sometimes that's appropriate, or sometimes we can do the thing anyway. So we ended up jumping on a call and recording it anyway. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to the wonderful Justine Kovacs. Here we go. So, yeah, I guess like we can just get right back into sort of what we were talking about or where we left off. But basically, you were experiencing a lot of resistance to coming on the show and like making your unapologetically human podcast debut, and you're sort of playing it up a little for yourself, making it a bit more intense and experiencing some resistance. So yeah, do you want to share where you're at, what you're experiencing? And
Yeah, so I almost canceled my attendance on the show today because I was tuning into my state and how I was feeling, and it just felt like a huge commitment because I'm really excited to be a part of your show and support your project. And there's so much important messages that I want to share with the world. And in that moment, I was just waking up from a nap and to prepare myself because I was like, oh, I'm going on the show soon. I'll have a nap. I'll wake up feeling refreshed. But I woke up and I was like, fuck. And I started feeling anxiety and I started tuning into how I was feeling and feeling like maybe today wasn't the day. And the reason for that being, well, one of them just being where I'm at in my cycle. And that is, I'm on my bleed. And it's also the new moon. We just passed the new moon. And you know,
I don't think I've ever mentioned, but I do find it funny that you call it your bleed.
Well, I don't know. Calling it the period doesn't really vibe with me anymore for
No,
some reason.
it doesn't. Where did
So
that
I've
even
sort of
come
upped it.
from? Like, where did
I
that
don't know
name
why
even
they call
come
it
from?
period. So I've just started bluntly calling it the bleed.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's funny.
That's the stage that I'm in.
I mean, it
And
makes
at the
more
time,
sense though. That's like what's happening.
yeah, it's not just like calling it a period and writing it off. It's being like, I'm bleeding. So, but I also like calling it the moon time. So
Yeah.
I'll shift between that sometimes as well. But yeah, it's that stage of my cycle. And during this time, it's really a time of introspection and reflection and resting and being. And the thought of coming on the podcast, as much as I am so excited to be a part of it, and there's so much that I want to share, I felt like today probably isn't the day.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I just wanted to like continue napping or run a bath or listen to some calming music or something. But yeah, then we got into a call about how like this can also be a really massive form of rationalizing resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And which I think could be a really good topic for us to speak to. And it's something that we've spoken about before, that whole notion of like, you know, going with your feminine flow and honoring your state versus recognizing when that can really stop you from doing the things that you want to do. And yeah, I could keep going, but is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, well, we were just talking about how I was saying like, okay, like all good. There's nothing wrong here. If we don't do the show today, we don't do the show today. It doesn't need to be like this big thing and something that's making you feel anxiety because you have other things going on with the rest of your day. And yeah, it's your time of the month, the bleed, and but yeah, just something that I've been learning myself, tuning in through like the leadership programs and personal and professional growth programs I've been doing, and in particular that book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, is all about resistance and how like resistance is like our immortal enemy basically, and it's this force within us that stops us from doing everything that we want to do in life. And so while on the one hand I'm like, okay, cool, like we can shift, we can reschedule, whatever, it's all good, but I still just want to kind of support you and push you a little bit to examine like, are you just honoring your state and how you feel right now, and that like maybe now's not the time? Or is it resistance doing its job and giving you like a really good story and really good reasons and rationalizations of why like you shouldn't do this thing right now? And it's the idea that resistance, the resistance that we feel toward doing pretty much all the things we want to do in life that requires us to go outside of our comfort zone to learn and grow. Resistance is there essentially to help us survive. It's essentially to keep us safe. And resistance, perks up and starts doing its job whenever we want to do anything that's going to make us remotely uncomfortable or have to step outside of our comfort zone at all, even a little bit. It doesn't have to be some huge thing. And just that resistance is this sort of like this primal force that we have within us, and it's ancient and it's really, really good at its job. And so it will feed you all of these reasons and excuses and perfect sounding rationalizations of why you should just take it easy and like don't do that thing that's going to make you kind of uncomfortable or have to go into the realm of uncertainty at all, because we all know that saying that we're afraid of the unknown, and the unknown is basically every single thing outside of our comfort zone, which is also where everything we want in life is. It's outside of our comfort zone, and it's outside of the things that we know and outside of our certainty and our, what we feel like is our safety, right? And so I just was sort of questioning you, I think it's not black and white. On the one hand, you should really honor where you're at and be in tune with how you feel, and if you do need to reschedule something, then like reschedule, but then to also consider that maybe this is just your own resistance coming up, and whenever we're trying something new, immediately comes up like all of our limiting beliefs, all of our feelings of not being worthy and not being good enough and wanting everything to be certain, have everything figured out beforehand, have everything in control. And so, yeah, I'm glad that we ended up jumping on the call anyway, and that we can just kind of talk about this. Because I was saying, this call doesn't have to look any specific way, and you can just show up as you are, and maybe that's the perfect conversation that we can have.
Yeah, and I think like the big part of it is just I know I have such a big story to share and that I want to share. And that's why I'm aspiring to write books, because I just have so much that I want to pull out of me and share. And coming on your podcast, I was just like, oh my God, well, it's time to share my life story. I could share, like, there's so many different things that I want to talk about. And I just had to sort of accept that in this moment, that expectation of diving into all those topics probably wouldn't be what would be in alignment today. And like we talked about, I could either cancel the call completely and just continue napping, or I could come
which
on. Which
sounds pretty good.
Which, yeah, but I don't think I would have felt good though. I felt I don't know if that would have been the right option. The contrary would be to come on and like just kind of talk as if everything's normal and like start talking about, my project and about my, experience of awakening and a lot of my struggles that I've had and inner turbulence with finding my place in the world and all of these things that I know I want to discuss, but do it out of a state of force. Or I could come on and meet in the middle and just show up vulnerably with how I'm feeling in this moment and speak to what's real right now. And that's what I kind of just had to accept. And I'm really happy that you brought me into this space, because, yeah, you could have just been like, okay, no problem. Catch you later, right? But
Yeah.
I appreciate your kind of like gentle nudge, kind of pushing me to just like show up anyways, but like show up as I am without pressure, like you're saying, of like what it needs to look like and how it needs to be. Because so often, yeah, we have this, perceived idea of how things should be, but so often life doesn't play out that way. And it's just about learning to adapt in the moment and, just show up like the way that you can.
Yeah, just
In that
how
time.
you
Yeah.
are authentically. So I
Yeah.
will respond to that more in just a moment, but I need to plug my
Okay.
computer in.
Okay.
Because I just got a notification that my computer's battery is low.
Oh,
And it
no.
is tripping. Okay. Yeah, and even on the comment of like, staying in bed all day sounds kind of nice. But yeah, ultimately it wouldn't really be necessarily the right choice. Maybe it would be, and sometimes yeah, that would be the best call, especially if it's like you're like sick or something, and
Yeah.
it's like, if you really really like can't, and you shouldn't force yourself to do things if you're like really not feeling it. But then
Hmm.
yeah, it's like, you know laying in bed all day and taking a nap, whether it's literal or figurative, that's kind of what we do for a lot of the goals that we want to achieve in life. Like it never is the right time, and the resistance that comes up gives us all sorts of reasons that are super reasonable and believable that we can agree with and be like, you know what, yeah, like I can't do this or that thing because I don't know. I'm thinking like I want to kind of give more specific examples right now, but
Hmm.
there's a million reasons why we don't do the things that we want to do, and it's at the heart of it is this like resistance and just not having everything all like figured out and sorted out beforehand. Because one of the things that you're saying just about how it's like you have all these big topics that you want to talk about and you want to share yourself and your story and all of these like big things, and that in and of itself can be a big part of the problem actually, because that can bring you into anxiety and overwhelm, because it's like
Hmm.
trying to figure out beforehand like how am I gonna possibly talk about all of these things. And whenever we don't see a path forward, whenever we experience uncertainty, that's where resistance comes up and goes like, uncertainty is unsafety. Because, you know 10,000 years ago, if you were in a place of uncertainty where you're not feeling safe and comfortable, that means that maybe there's a actual danger of like a predator somewhere. And it's like we're physically, like biologically, psychologically, physiologically hardwired to fear uncertainty, like we should fear a predator or fear getting like eaten, right? It's like at the heart
Hmm.
of the things that stop us in our lives is ultimately the fear of like basically getting eaten by something. But that
Hmm.
like we don't experience that anymore. We live in this like pretty fucking safe world that we've built where we don't have any dangers like that. But you know our
Now it's just
ancestors,
psychological dangers. It's not physical dangers, it's psychological.
yeah, well, it's all social stuff that triggers the same response in us now. Like
Hmm.
our fear and our resistance and our unwillingness to journey into spaces of uncertainty or discomfort outside of our comfort zone, and really feeling safe, it triggers the same responses that we evolved literally like millions of years ago to prevent us from being eaten. But now it gets triggered by like you don't want to ask someone out on a date, or you don't want to try to find a new job, or you don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation with a friend or a family member or your spouse or whatever, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I hear you. So I think it's just tuning into when it's what type of resistance that it is that you're having. Like if it's just like genuinely not in alignment for you in that moment, or if there's something deeper there, like you're scared of being seen or heard, or
Mm-hmm.
feelings like you're not enough. or yeah.
Well, and we all have that. So it's like, even if you're not really consciously aware that that's at play as well, we tend to literally all have those similar beliefs, like fear of being seen, fear of standing out, fear of rocking the boat, fear of criticism and judgment and not being enough, and like looking dumb, looking stupid, like you're not gonna come across as like smart enough with whatever you say. Like that stuff's all at play all the time for us as well.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, a way in my life that I'm experiencing that right now is I was planning on working towards building an online offering. I know I really love teaching and I could see all the benefits of doing it in the online world. And I'm working towards bringing some of my yoga classes online and my information that I've learned about the lunar cycles and um, this area that I'm exploring of like learning to live in alignment and, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world, starting with yourself. And just so much, I have so many ideas. I have an entire notebook of ideas of what I want to build.
Just
And
one?
I got into more than one. I actually have more than one.
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah, and it's like I've invested in someone to help me with it, and you know, I'm on the path to making it happen. But I got to the point where my mentor was encouraging me to really get online and to start sharing authoritative content about my niche area. And I started to get into this intense area of paralysis in regards to my messaging and like what exactly I'm saying and what exactly I'm trying to build, and needing it, feeling like I need it to be so crystal clear before I can really begin doing that, to the point where I closed up to the whole thing pretty much, and haven't moved forward in that program. And I started to feel like perhaps I just don't want to be building an online offering, and sort of like closed off the entire thing and sort of had this like mixed feelings between, you know, this resistance because of lack of clarity, like I was saying, and just some confusion with what exactly I like want to say, versus feeling like maybe I just don't even want to build anything online and that I don't even really like being online. And I started to really rationalize it, even though I'm online all the time and I actually do like receive a lot of enjoyment in a lot of the practices that I do. And but I started to just feel like, you know, um, yeah, just I don't actually like being online all the time. And perhaps I want to build an offering that doesn't require any usage of being online. I even thought, I was like, maybe I should just go offline for a whole year. I wrote that in one of my journals and just like, maybe that'll feel better for me. And so it was that same, just that confusing dance between like, you know, trying to figure out that perhaps it's just not an alignment for me to be creating posts every day and going on live videos. And, you know, maybe that's just simply not what I desire to be doing, versus questioning like, am I just not showing up because I feel like I don't totally fully know exactly what I'm doing? And am I just being scared of being seen in that state? Do I feel like I need to have everything like completely figured out before I can really share myself and move forward? And yeah, so that's kind of what I've like an example of where I've been struggling with that. But I feel like it's just about it really is a dance of finding that sweet spot between like honoring, yeah, there is an element of me that doesn't want to be on the computer every day in that way. And you know, if I'm to do that, I want it to feel not forced, and I want it to feel genuine and something I'm excited to do. So like there is an element of truth in that, but there's also that part of me that, yeah, is like a bit of a perfectionist and like things to be really neat and tidy and clean, and yeah, like is probably um, like holding back because of that as well. And it's not just that I find cyber world like extremely toxic and want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, well, it's certainly there's some resistance coming up in that. Like when you start thinking about really creating a business for yourself, if you're going to make, especially if you're going to make like an online program or like coaching services to become like a coach of some sort, whether that's, you know, like you and a alignment coach kind of helping people get aligned with their passion and their purpose in their life, or maybe it's like a health coach or nutritionist or whatever, right? Like for us to start positioning ourselves as an authority, we really come up head to head against our resistance because of the limiting beliefs about ourselves and our own worthiness that underlie the resistance as well, right? And something that we tend to do, and I've done a couple different entrepreneur programs where I came to my own sort of like analysis paralysis and like an inability to move forward because of this feeling that you need to have everything crystal clear and figured out about your niche right now before you can really even create the content and put yourself out there. And if you don't, then you're like, you're missing something or you're doing something wrong. And you just sort of get stuck in this. It's a form of perfectionism, right? Like so many of us struggle with perfectionism and never doing things because we want everything to be perfect, or never sharing the things that we do because it's not perfect, right? And so that's what.
That'll never get old for you, eh? The doo-doo?
No, it won't.
Every time.
Like literally, I stop in the middle of my own sentence to laugh that I said doo-doo. Yeah,
Call it out.
that's how I roll. Dick and fart jokes and doo-doo, and if anyone says butt fuck while they're talking, I am pointing that out. But yeah, we get stuck in our perfectionism that we have to have everything figured out before we really make progress on the things that we want to learn or do or create. And we do it in everything. It's like, even with what you're saying about like, you know, you need to start posting online more and positioning yourself as an authority in your field and your niche. But it's like you have to go from who you are and how you're being today to doing that 100% tomorrow, to like have clarity on your message, have clarity on your audience and your niche and who you're trying to connect with, and go from like not posting every day to posting every day overnight. It's why people fail New Year's resolutions, because we expect of ourselves way too high expectations. And sometimes it might be other people putting those expectations, or like this program that you're taking that is making you feel like you have to have all the answers right now to start doing it perfectly tomorrow. It's the same thing with like, you want to lose weight, you want to develop a healthier lifestyle, you want to maybe stop doing some of the things, unhealthy habits like drinking or smoking or whatever else you might want to stop, eating unhealthy. We want to do them overnight. And when we try to make changes like that so quickly and have the expectations of perfection on ourselves, almost none of us last for very long, because our old habits are at play and our beliefs and limitations are at play, and they make us believe like, oh, well, I wasn't able to be perfect this week, so it's just not going to happen, and I might as well just say fuck it, sort of, right?
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me. I took, 2 years ago, I took an entrepreneur podcasting program because I knew I wanted to start a podcast, and we went over a lot of the same stuff. Like, you have to have your products and your services that you can sell to customers, and you have to know your niche, and you have to know your audience, and you have to know your messaging, and you have to have everything like perfect, and you have to have, whether it's a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel, or maybe you're a different type of artist of some sort, maybe you're a painter or an illustrator, or maybe you want to be any of those things. It's like you have to have everything like ready to go immediately. And I think one of the things that they're trying to teach us in these programs is that you do need to get there, but it's how we think we need to get there that's the problem. And it's not that we need to get there tomorrow. You don't have to have all of your shit figured out tomorrow and be like a content creating superstar who's posting like some amazing shit every single day from like where you are today. It's that you start where you are, you start with where you're at and what you've created up to this point, and you put yourself out there. You face the resistance, you work through the resistance anyway, and you create and you actually release what you create, knowing that it's not perfect and knowing that you don't have everything figured out and that you might look dumb. Like that's one of my biggest fears that's held me back is like I do not want to look dumb. It's so silly too because sometimes looking dumb is like a lot of fun if you can allow yourself to just be silly and not feel like you need to be perfect all the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we actually don't need to have all that stuff figured out immediately, and it's actually through creating and sharing and having conversations and interactions with people and getting feedback that we get more clarity and we get further to that place that our coaches and our mentors and like people doing the like who've created these entrepreneur programs that we're taking are like, you need this. It's like, yeah, like eventually, like do what you can, do what you can for now with where you're at until you get there.
Yeah, for sure. It's all a flow for sure. And yeah, like if you do go down that path, it's really confronting work. And yeah, you just sort of really grow and adapt as you go. And yeah, like I think what came up for me, I don't know if this is the direction that we're going to take this episode in. Like we could obviously keep talking about this, but
Go.
in this program was like, so I started to feel like, okay, I know I definitely want to be a mentor, but I need to choose like a niche area. And I was thinking about empowerment, and I also liked like alignment and like vision coaching, like helping people just like really create a vision for their life. And there's what kind of came up for me was like feeling like I need to be the epitome of alignment and vision. Like I need to have like the most crystal clear vision that I'm manifesting, like that I'm manifesting so like clearly in my life before I can do this type of work. And I also like, I know that that's such a like limiting belief because I know that in regards to alignment, it's like an every single day experience. It's lucid. It's not like you hit the state of alignment and then you're living in alignment forever. It's every single day you make choices. And me knowing what it feels like to not being living in alignment, or to also feel very confused about what I'm trying to do with my existence, that's what makes me a really real person to talk with people about these experiences. But that being said, it did sort of want me to seek out more guidance of learning tools to help people that are dealing with this. So I ended up taking another program, which was more focused on my niche and like learning from people that are like doing what I want to do and learning how they're teaching it. And it's been a profound learning experience, and I'm so grateful for it. But then there's that element of like, feeling like you're not enough as you are right now. And like that could also be sort of like taking more programs can also be a bit of a distraction from like creating from your own like just unmanifested space of creation, if you're just sort of taking in other people's creations or learning from other people's approaches. So yeah, that's been interesting, but it felt like a important detour for me. And yeah, but when I'm sharing about that project, I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the online component. So
do you want to share a little bit about that program, like what it's called and what it's about?
Yeah, so it's called Lifebook. It's through Mind Valley, and it's taught by a couple named John and Missy Butcher. And they're two extremely inspiring individuals. They've built 20 plus companies together. They've traveled to 6 continents. They've traveled to half of the world's countries. They were both from troubled families, not like super wealthy roots. And yeah, they're both just extremely inspiring teachers. But they have built this amazing life for themselves. And the way that they've done it is through this process called Lifebook. And it was what John, just this model that he created for himself, where he began to look at his life from various lenses and to record very intensely his journey in each category of his life and what he was learning about how he wanted to show up in all of those areas. And they narrowed it down to 12 categories. For example, one of them being health and fitness, another one being your intellectual life, your emotional life, your spiritual life, then more like outwardly ones like your parenting life, their parents, um, or just your relationship with youth in the world in general and children, your love relationship, your social relationships, your job, your finances, your quality of life you're wanting to have, all of these areas of life. And they encourage you to go into all these categories and think about, what your belief systems are in this area already, and then what your vision is for these areas of your life, and then what the reason is for that, what the why is, and then developing a strategy for how you want to start to work towards this. And I really, really loved the model just because I am in this state where for the first time in my life, for so much of my life, I always sort of knew what was coming next or quickly hopped to the next thing. But for the first time in my life, I'm like, wait, like maybe not the first time. Maybe I just kept hopping to like exciting things and whatever. But I'm just feeling like sort of this massive spaciousness of like what do I really want to do with my existence? And it's helpful to have some type of model to think about it from, because otherwise it can feel just really overwhelming. And yeah, but something that I've really settled on and that I want to teach through my programs is it's so important to have a vision for your life, but it's also important to be grounded in the present moment and to have spaciousness and awareness that you might have the most beautiful plan written down in your life book, but life is so extremely unpredictable. And it's so important to be super grounded in presence as well as having a vision for your future and just sort of having that balance. Because for me, like ever since I was a teenager, just this whole like stress that I put on myself, that society puts on us as well, of trying to figure out what your purpose in the world should be, what your passion is, what your
Yeah.
role in society
When
should
you're
be.
they start
When
really
you're like
asking you that when
17,
you're in
yeah.
grade 9, you start
Yeah.
I
What do you want to
I've
be when you grow up? Yeah.
yeah, like well, and you actually direct your classes through high school based on the path you want to take
Right.
too. So it's like
Yeah.
you're 14 years old in grade 9 and they're like, "What do you better figure out like to pick your classes what you're going to like start
Yeah.
directing your life towards." And it's like,
Right.
you know, I'm
Better take that math class or else you're not going to be a doctor or whatever.
yeah, whatever,
Engineer.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I definitely felt that like full throttle. I went to the guidance counselor like very often trying to discuss all the possibilities. And what really ended up like basically I didn't even end up choosing a career path. Instead, I just decided to study world issues because I felt like that was what was important. I felt like it was like, sure, I didn't know what my place in the world should be yet, but like, when I started learning about climate change and endangered species and about like global poverty and the gap between the rich and the poor and famine and these wars and refugees, I was like, "Hey, this is clearly really important. So I'm just going to focus on that." And so that was like sort of a detour that I took, but still, even after learning all those things, like learning about those things and really developing a lot of passion. And um, like I still got back into that like state of paralysis around like, oh my God, like what should I do for my job? What should I do with my life? And what's really tamed my anxiety about that throughout the years has just been this notion of presence. And when I really, really learned that, like, Eckhart Tolle was a really big teacher for me in the book
Mm-hmm.
A New Earth, he really awakened my consciousness in the fact that, like, in reality, the present moment is all there ever actually is. Like all it ever really is us interacting with the right here, right now. And if
Mm-hmm.
you could find a way to enjoy that space every day and to just kind of flow with the tides of life, then it's like so much more of a peaceful existence. And yoga also really brought me to that space and what that actually really feels like. And so that has just been so beautiful. And but I do believe that there is also a lot to be said about the realms of like setting goals and setting intentions for your life and really like dreaming, and like being present, but like just that whole element of like really our ability to consciously choose what we do want to do with our life. So that's why I feel, as much as I love this vision work, um, I it's both. It's definitely both, I feel.
Can you clarify that? Like, what's both?
There's the importance of being grounded in the present moment, but also having a like vision that you're working towards.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it can be really difficult to find that balance. And yeah, for most of us, yoga and meditation and so many kind of like spiritual teachers and wisdom teachers and yoga teachers, like so much of the focus of kind of like the health and wellness and spirituality type of content that we see out there in such abundance these days is really trying to for us trying to learn for ourselves and people trying to teach each other how to just be more, how to just exist more in the present moment.
Right.
And for most of
Yeah.
us, we spend most of our lives in either the past or the future. And it's unfortunate that so much of the time we spend in the past is spent thinking about what we didn't do right, things we did wrong, things we should have said that we didn't, things we said that we shouldn't have. There's so much guilt and shame and regret like looped into the past, and so much of the resistance that we experience as well and the limiting beliefs that we have are sort of like really related to things that we've done in the past, or we exist in the future and we want to figure everything out and we worry so much. And yeah, it's like I talked in episode 5 about how important it is to have a vision for yourself in your life, but then to also not try to just do it alone, to have people, teachers, and other students to work with as you're trying to learn and progress as well. And yeah, it's like it's really important to have some clarity on the path of where you want to head, but then also find balance of living in the present moment. And rather than the resistance that comes up from the future is so many of the what if scenarios about what might go wrong. Like, what if this or that thing happens that you don't want to happen? And this is actually a really cool exercise, or kind of like a fun game you can play that I came across recently in this program that I'm doing, where one of my coaches has been saying, like, we all play the what if game as the negative what if game, and we never ever play the what if game as the positive what if game. And so when you find yourself going like, what if this or that bad thing is going to happen? What if so and so is going to be mad? What if I look stupid? What if all this like negative stuff that we worry about? what if we flipped it on its head and play the what if positive game? Like, what if everything goes right? What if I fucking kill it and I like put myself out there in a way that I'm really proud of, and I sound smart and articulate, and like I shared some really great ideas that I wanted to share, and like, you know, like us coming
Yeah.
into this podcast, like you're feeling like I'm not really feeling ready to do this right now, or I'm feeling resistance, or I'm not feeling in the mood because I'm on my period and I don't really feel well and I'm busy later today and I don't know how I'm going to express all of these different things. And it's like you're playing the what if negative game. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, what if you start feeling better as soon as you get on the call, and the resistance you're feeling and the not feeling like it goes away? And
Yeah.
what if you express yourself and the things
What
you
if
want
I'm
to
extra
share?
powerful right now in this
Yeah.
state? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. And that people feel, understood or inspired by what I share. And yeah. What if I don't do it and feel like I missed my chance to show up right now, you know? Like I let that sweet moment in time to share myself with the world pass,
Yeah, because you
you
really
know?
don't ever get the same opportunity twice. Like, we like to think about that,
Yeah,
and we talk
totally.
about that, how, yeah, like, another opportunity will rise up again, but like, not this one. This one's gone.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
it's like life opens up for you, and the universe opens up for you, and
Yeah.
relationships with other people open up for you, and more
Mm-hmm.
opportunities open up for you when you show up now in the present moment and
Yeah.
you take action regardless of how you're feeling, and you take that
Yeah.
opportunity. Because if you don't, it might be like, okay, whatever, like, in the context of this, you can come on my podcast another time. I'll probably have you on my podcast a bunch, but we'll never have this opportunity to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
Right. And to speak
Yeah.
to what it is that you're experiencing right now while you're experiencing it.
Yeah. For sure.
you
Yeah.
know and
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a leadership program right now where we're hyper focused on getting clear on the vision for yourself and your life, and pushing through your resistance and the things that hold us back, that our ways of being and thinking and feeling that have always held us back. It's like, if you want to really be a leader in the world, and even just in your life, if you want to be a leader
Yeah.
in your life, you're the type of person that does the things you say you're going to do, and create the things that you say you want to and you're going to create,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's a relationship or something with your finances or career, or your relationship with like your partner, your kids, your family, friends, eating healthier, creating art, creating a business. It doesn't matter. It's like, when you take action on the things you say you're going to do, and you have integrity to do what you say you're going to do anyway, even when you don't feel like it, it's like you're being a leader. And you might not be, out there in your company or your community or on the world stage, but you're being a leader in your own life. And leaders take action, and leaders create stuff, and they get shit done. And we become so much more powerful and so much more effective in our lives, and we open up so much more opportunities for ourselves when we take action right now in the present moment, regardless of how we feel. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally. I concur. Yeah. No, I'm happy I came on. And perhaps what we could just remind our viewers, and something that we really do best, is just returning to the fact that, the fact that we're even alive here is such a magical, magical mystery that we completely normalize. And yeah, just reminding everybody that we're alive on a planet in an infinite universe. And yeah, and that's really just at the core of what I want to remind people through my work and through my messaging. And yeah, it's like just this dance of yeah, like being conscious creators in our life and believing in our power of manifesting our dreams versus like not taking everything so seriously and just sort of, yeah, just like enjoying all of the blessings that surround us and learning to see them and learning to feel them. The most important one being just like the blessing that is your own existence and how like just profoundly trippy and sacred and magical that like really is.
Yeah. We frequently riff on and vibe on just how like mind-blowing existence and the universe is, and the fact that we're even here and we get to wake up every day and have the opportunities that we have that so many of us just really take for granted. And
Yeah.
and we focus so much on our limitations and what we don't have, and being caught up in our fears and insecurities from like really doing the things that we want to do, and like that kind of giving us evidence that we're not worthy or we're not capable or whatever. Like, so many of us spend so much time focusing on that type of stuff and worrying about what might happen, rather than you know actually just doing one small thing towards the things you want to create. And also just like being grateful for what we do have now and the opportunities that we have, and that every day is another chance. It's another opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
another chance to like do that thing you want to do, but also that it's not guaranteed. None of it is guaranteed. Like, maybe we're gonna have a heart attack while we're sleeping tonight. You never know. Like, anything really could happen, and it's like we need to make the best.
You want to look back. You want to look back and know that you at least tried,
Yeah.
you know? And I find like the fact that we're going to die is like, it's almost like such a blessing because it's such a grand motivator that it's like the fact that you
Yeah.
don't know how long you're going to be here. It's like really thinking about like what it is that you really want to experience. Or, you know, if you do feel called to be of service in some way, if you do feel sort of um, really just desiring to help out with some of the world's problems that we're dealing with, or whatever it is that really you feel that inner fire for, you like the fact that you're only going to be here for so long, you really, it's just such a grand motivator. And it's like, what do you really want to leave the world with? And maybe that's not to say, like you're saying, maybe it's not having like an intense global impact, but maybe it's like just really knowing that you take the time to like really experience it, to really see all the beauty, to really experience the trees and deep breaths and like the animals and all the beauty and connection and like there's so much joy, like even just how good it feels to just like kiss another human or be with another human, or just
Oh
there's
yeah.
just so much to celebrate. Oh yeah, there's just so much to celebrate. And yeah, it's just such a good reminder, I feel, that yeah, like we don't know how long we're going to be here. And I mean, there's so many different beliefs about that too, right? There's
Yeah, but
beliefs that you'll be back again,
even if you
but
reincarnate, you
yeah,
reincarnate as
not
a
in
new
this
being. You
version.
reincarnate as a
Yeah, like
new
you'll never
being.
be this
If that
incarnation
is what
again.
happens, like, you're never gonna get another
Yeah,
opportunity to be you, who
right,
you are now, with the
right,
experiences that
right.
you had in this life. And I really,
Mm-hmm.
we love having this conversation, and I love having this type of conversation with you and with others, because I've been really severely depressed in my life, and I've been really negative and really defeating and self-critical with the way I think and talk to myself and treat myself and how I feel. And it's so important because there's so many people out there that are experiencing that right now. Like, some of the people that are listening to this, so like, we have this, sometimes when we're in that space, we're like, yeah, like all that joy and fucking good stuff sounds great. Wish I could have some of that,
Yeah,
but I don't, because this reason or that reason,
yeah,
right? And yeah, it's just
right.
like it's so important for us to remember and focus on and train ourselves to focus on, because it's like all of our ways of thinking and believing and experiencing ourselves and other people and interacting with the other people in the world, it's all just stuff we learned, and it's all built off practice. Like, and you can start to really shift that and enjoy life a lot more and be a lot more grateful when you start thinking about just how nothing should be normalized. I don't think, like, we talk about this a lot, but it's like we normalize every single part of life when realistically, like, there's no such thing as normal as far as like being a quote unquote normal person, but nothing about the world that we live in is normal. Like, we fucking came out of the fucking trees and started walking on our hind legs and developed a
Just, like,
massive
evolved.
developed a massive brain, and then we
That's right, yeah.
terraformed the entire world into cities and building houses and factories and planes and ships and war and all this, like,
Yeah, and then we like left it in spaceship.
yeah, all these like mind-blowing things, and we
Yeah.
literally completely dominated the rest of life on this planet.
Right.
And now
Yeah.
we're so powerful that we have issues like climate change and, like, overusing the earth's resources and pollution and all this stuff. And when we're stuck in like depression and anxiety or inaction on the things that we want to do, it's because we're focused so deeply inwardly in like not good ways. Like it's being so self-focused and so repetitive about things in your past or worries about your future that you're just so lost in that. And it's like
Yeah.
the more we practice, the more we have conversations like this where we're really focusing on just how mind-blowingly bizarre and weird and magical everything really is, then we can not only kind of shift out of this space of like depression and anxiety and see the importance of our time right now every day with like creating and taking the opportunities that are presented towards us, because like the ultimate fucking sleep is coming for all of us at some point, and none of us know when that is. And when we also kind of recognize that and have gratitude and have our curiosity, like every child is curious as fuck. Like human nature for humans is like this deep curiosity and asking questions and trying to understand the world. And we lose that a lot as we grow up, and society kind of beats it out of you a bit, and we get rigid ways of thinking. But when we start to consciously choose how we're going to look at ourselves and our life and the world and what we're capable of, we can choose to just have a more joyful existence. And we can also choose to, like, not worry as much or so much about the things that we want to create, but we don't really know how to, and we're afraid of how we're going to show up and make mistakes and everything. Like, we can start to just kind of take things, on the one hand, a little bit lighter, like have a little bit more fun, and just give yourself the permission to be messy and make mistakes and look stupid and look silly and whatever. And also take it more seriously and have some fucking urgency for ourselves in our lives with the things that we want to create, because we don't know how much longer we have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's really helpful to just return to that state of consciousness. But like this example, like even just beginning this episode, like we get so caught up in our own stories,
you were
and
in
our own
it.
experiences, right? Like that's where I was so in it, and I was like it is so helpful to just return to that space of like just remembering just how special and magical it is to just even be alive. And that's not to say that our own experiences aren't real. And, if I'm not feeling like coming on the podcast, don't come on the podcast. It's fine. But it can, like you're saying, it can kind of take a big weight off of us to just sort of return to that, that just space of awe and wonder. And Yeah.
And to just show up as you
It's
are
helpful.
and
Yeah.
just share vulnerably from where you are. Like, it can be hard, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I don't struggle like crazy when I'm in those moments for myself, and I need somebody to fucking
Yeah.
I have acknowledged for myself that I actually need people to kind of yell at me when I'm in that
Like
state,
yell at you.
because that's
Yeah.
whatever I've found out, that's what I respond to, sort of, right?
Which I'm so bad at. 'Cause I'm so compassionate, and I'm like, well, if you're feeling that way, just don't do it, man. Don't do a podcast.
I
Like,
know,
you must have another calling, right?
but that's also part of
Yeah.
why, like, even when you're in
Yeah.
that space at the beginning of, but before we even jumped on the call, when we're talking about like, if
Yeah.
is this even gonna happen, I'm kind of like, okay, well, yeah, like, on one hand, I'll like totally support you and honor you and where you're at, but
Yeah.
also I'm gonna like question you and challenge you to be like, is
Yeah.
that really, like, is it true? Because we believe our resistance and our excuses for not doing the things that we want to do as if they're true when we're experiencing them,
Yeah.
and they're not. For like 99% of the
Mhm.
time, they're not true. They're just
Yeah.
what we're
Right.
choosing or what we're
Yeah.
believing because of this internal resistance that's like feeding us this
Mm.
story.
Yeah, for sure.
But in each and every moment, we have such an amazing power as human beings to choose. And the more we have conversations like this, the more we do this type of work where we're learning about how we stop ourselves and how to push through it and stuff like that, the more conscious awareness we get, the greater our power to choose, because then we can see that that's happening, and rather than believe it like we always have, we can take one step back and go, is that like really the case, or could I actually just choose, or it's like, do I really honor this, and is this actually true, or is it maybe not?
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. It can be hard to tune into which one is right sometimes, but you only figure it out by just doing it anyways, and yeah.
For sure. So to wrap up, let's let everybody know where they can connect with you. Where can they find you? What's your social media?
Well, I'm a live creature on planet Earth, so you can find me here.
Where are you located?
Um, um, yeah, you can connect with me through Dan, my boyfriend. If you want to find me, you can ask him, or you can just go to my Instagram. Aligning and Shining is the name, and my name is Justine Page Kovacs on Facebook. If people want to talk further, I'd love to hear from anybody. Definitely.
Cool. Well, I guess that about wraps it up. And I'm really glad that we ended up jumping on the call and we got to chat about where you were at and the resistance you
Yeah,
were
I think
experiencing.
I would like to guide some people through some breath.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for listening today and invite everybody to take a deep breath with us in this moment. Inhaling deeply through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And just tuning into the magic that is this breath that has been flowing through you since the moment you were born, and flowing through just this whole life, this experience of life here on planet Earth since before you were even here. And just always remembering that we can return to this space when life gets pretty full on, when you're feeling stressed or anxious or confused, and yeah, just how healing it can be to just tune into the magic that is your breath and remember just how magical and special it is that you're even here, that we're even here collectively sharing this experience together.
Amen to that. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for coming on the show and making your Unapologetically Human podcast debut. You did great.
Thank you.
You did great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so proud of you for building this platform and super honored to be a part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. I love you.
I love you.
Okay. So we don't actually have to hang up now, but that can be the end of the that can be the end of the recording.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, we're at 1 hour and 12 minutes. Almost 111.
Oh. So you get notes and I don't get notes. That's not fair.
What do you want
I'm
notes
just
from?
kidding.
And
I'm just kidding.
I'm just writing down just what we wrote in these like 2 text messages.
Yeah. I have my journal with me, but I don't have a pen.
So do you want to get one?
Do I need one?
No? But if you want one to make you feel more...
No, I don't. I was just teasing you. We had talked about how we weren't going to come into this with a plan, and you're taking a pause to write a plan. So I was just sort of calling you out on it, but it's fine. I don't need it.
Sorry, well, this is my own resistance showing up. Being like, oh, wait, like, hold on. We can't just start the show and just, like, be as we are and who we are because I need to, like... write some stuff down first for my own like security.
Like it's good to do.
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah, it sounds like shit.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty much just be mindful of that.
Okay.
Babe, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We're doing
Okay.
it. The show.
Yes. Yes. No, I'm happy I came on.
I'm always happy when you come, baby.
Ha ha ha. Yeah. So.
Yeah, see, this is fun too, babe, because see, I can just cut this right out. We can say anything we want.
I know.
And I can just cut it right out.
You're right.
I can just cut out that whole section of everything you just said. I wouldn't do that, but
yeah, I think maybe we could keep going here, or we could start to transition it, because we are at an hour, and you can cut this part out, by the way. You don't have to put that in.
No,
But
I'm going
I
to
was
keep
just
this part
gonna
for
say-
sure.
The infamous cough.
I know, it's a very distinct cough. No.
Why?
No, because it's for us reading saints, not for. We can do an ohm.
Nah.
Nah. Okay, well, the dog's like, I have
Maybe he
a
has something
story
important
too.
to say.
Yeah, I have a story too.
Unapologetically dog.
That'll be a offshoot of the podcast.